morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. That's right. Warriors for Freedom, back at you this morning. Hitting you up with some more information on this battle that we as men find ourselves in, man. I was with some men last night and we had some really interesting conversations, and things are going good. So this morning, man, I'm hoping and praying, and I know that you're fighting for your purity today. You're fighting to get the job done and to honor your family and your kids and your legacy. So I just want to celebrate all my men out there and all my friends out there, and I'm just coming at you. Wow. What should I talk about this morning? What should I talk about? I got a couple minutes. I'm outside the doctor's office here with my wife, who has had some health challenges, and God's bringing her back for that. And I just thank God for His miracles, and for His blessings and the hope that we have through Jesus Christ. So this morning, interesting conversation I had. What should I talk about? I think I want to raise a question this morning. The question is, and I want you to listen real careful. Okay? Here's the question. When was your first, that you could remember, first sexual experience? And I'm talking to men, okay? So when was your first sexual experience, and what was it like? That's the first part. And what was involved? Was it positive? Was it negative? The first memory you have that you know this was a sexual experience of some sort, some type. I don't know whether it was physical, whether it was all the way, whether it was part the way, whether it was touching, whether it was family related, whether it was something that the enemy, have got you involved in, something that you might not should have been involved in, and as a result, especially if you're raised in a religious home like me, it's something I'm gonna take to my grave, and I ain't talking to nobody about this, So I want you to think about that this morning, and just begin to bring it to your mind and kind of sit there for a while. And then the second one is, hey everybody out there, hey Steve, how you doing? The second part of the question is basically, in your family of origin, did your parents have that conversation with you about sex, about sexuality? Now I grew up in church where, I heard all the time, it was a sin, it was wrong, you're going to hell, no fornicating, no this and all that. But that real conversation about sex, and sex as it relates to your family and in your generations, how did that conversation go? Was there even a conversation? For me, there wasn't no conversation at all, other than I just knew it was wrong, it was something to be ashamed of, you didn't do it, don't get no girls pregnant, and all this other kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So that's a twofold question, okay? First, sexual experience. Now, for me, I kind of touched on it yesterday. I was first exposed to pornography. My grandfather was a pastor, a reverend. My great-grandfather, I'm from a generation of religious, spiritual pastors and all this. My mom was an evangelist, okay? And so one day I used to go to my grandparents' house, and I found this big box. I was just going through, looking for books actually in the library, just looking through books, and then all of a sudden I found this magazine. This was my first exposure to pornography, my first exposure to something sexual. Whereas in my mind I was able to ever since this day, what I like to tell people, I never saw girls, I never saw women in the same way. Never saw my teacher, stretching to write on the board in the same way in a mini skirt. Back then they had mini skirts when I was in school, So everybody's wearing short dresses. So all of a sudden I started to see everything in sexual terms. And everything changed, and it was different. And something chemically was going on in my brain. Now I understand it. Back then I didn't understand what was going on. And, so this began to define, as I was talking about yesterday, my arousal template. This began to define who I was and who I was to become on a sexual level, other than spiritualization, other than that's my private life, you don't talk about that, people don't want to know about that, all the other things that you raise in the type of a Victorian Elizabethan society. I call it hypocritical society, especially religious people in church. So that's really what I'm trying to break, that we can come out of the secrets. Hi Karen, how you doing? Okay, good to see you. God is good, the family's good, everybody is fine, miracles are normal and natural, and I'm doing good, so I thank God for life. So this is a time in my life when I'm beginning to just peel the onion back and just be honest, because at almost 60, if I can't be honest, if I can't be open, hey, you know what I mean? If Donald Trump could do it and everybody else could do it, I could do it. You know what I mean? Because I believe there are lessons in my life the experiences that I have, that I'm going through, that has taken me through 3 marriages, 3 failed marriages, a restored marriage, all the struggles that I've gone through. But now I know. Now I'm free. Now I don't have to keep the family secrets. Now I don't have to pretend. Now I don't have to be phony, you know. And so what I'm talking about today is I want you to think about those questions. And if you got any ideas about it, just type it, just put it on the screen and everything. But think back, you know, what was your, you know, for one gentleman shared with me, say his first memory of a sexual experience was he woke up and from his sleep and he realized his sister, think about it, his sister was doing something to his private area, you know, to his penis or whatever like that. And he didn't know what it was, but he knew something was wrong about it. And he always had this shame about it. And then he remembered later on that a lady, a friend of his mom, used to take him in the back or whatever and do things to him. And the struggle part was that it felt good, but at the same time it felt wrong. But at the same time he heard it was wrong. So he grew up with this sense of guilt and shame and the inability to communicate to his sexuality and as to his experiences. But at the same time, the dichotomy is that it feels good. You know what I mean? And God designed that way. God designed it to feel good. God designed women to look good and men to look good and us to be attracted. But the enemy comes in and he twists that around. He turns that around, and all of a sudden this becomes an obstacle in our lives. This becomes a point of addiction in our lives, and we begin to struggle. And this begins to impact every relationship that we have from then on, with women, with the opposite sex and everything like that. And then now we don't know what to do. Now we have been hiding and in secret so long. So I just want to talk about that today. I just wanted to try to prod into your mind that, you know, begin to think about. Because that first experience, those first original experience, whether they're ones that you got to hide and it's a secret and you can't tell nobody and you're taking it to your grave and you just don't talk about it, well, guess what? These days we can talk about it. These days we can have the conversation, because it's in that conversation that you develop and you get the tools to go free. And like I always say, is there are 5 people in the world that knows every single thing about you. You know, for me, you know, it eventually became a way for me to anesthetize the pain, the frustrations, the disappointments with life and just life itself. You know, that became my drug, that dopamine, that hiding or whatever like that. My template became one where, you know, it was certain things that I had done over and over and over again, felt bad about it, guilty about it, but then I'll find myself doing it again. And finally, I didn't just think I was doing something bad. I began to think I am bad. And that's the lie that the enemy wants to bring to you, that you're bad. But I want to tell you today that you're valuable. No matter what the experience was, whether it was a homosexual one, whether it was an incestuous one, whether it was somebody taking advantage of you, a boy taking you in a car, feeling you up, doing whatever, whether you are a lady taking advantage of you, family members that keeping secrets, a father abusing a daughter, pedophilia, all these different things. The enemy uses this to keep us in bondage and to keep us silent and to have us shut up. And we go sit in the back pew because we feel we disqualify ourselves. But I like to say, hey, the same thing that you think disqualifies you actually qualifies you to talk to somebody else, to share your story. You see, you know what? The graveyard, like a mentor of mine, Miles Monroe say, the graveyard is filled with stories that were never told, filled with books that were never written, filled with people who never lived up to their potential and never told their story. Today, I want to encourage you to find somebody that you trust. Find a safe environment, okay, where you can talk about these things. You know, your wife, you should be able to talk about with it. Your significant other, you should be able to talk about these things. They should know everything. Nothing should be a surprise. Now, yes, it takes courage. Yes, it takes time. Yes, you need the foundation of a relationship. But when you begin to do this, you begin to go free. You begin to realize that you have a story to tell and you have something to say that's valuable. You know, so thanks, Steve. Thanks for that. Amen. Okay. And, you know, I'm going to post it later, and, you know, people watch it in the Bahamas and different things like that. But at the same time, I just want to say today, think about that question. When was your first sexual experience that you can remember? Was it a positive one? Was it a negative one? Because it impacts your relationships. And the valuable people in your life, they need to know about these things. You need to talk about these things. Don't be ashamed about it, okay? You're not bad. You're valuable. You're valuable to God. You're valuable to those in your life. You owe it to your kids for them to know what the challenges are, what the curses are, what the blessings are. And rather than us sweeping it under the rug and keeping it secret and pretending and lying and being deceptive, you know what I mean? We can come out of the closet. We can come out and we can begin to have conversations about all these circumstances. Hey, Tristan Lockhart, how you doing? Hey, when I see Lockhart man, I always say, hey, you know we got a generational struggle, right? Lockhart men are attractive, they're beautiful, they're smart, they're intelligent, women like them. You know what I mean? So at the same time, you got to be able to have your sexuality intact. You got to be able to have your ability to know what your struggle is, where your battleground is, what you're going through. And, so today, I just want to encourage you, man, to realize, okay, that there is hope. That it's not just a moral problem, it's a brain problem. It's a chemical problem. The brain is the most, the part of you that can manufacture so many chemicals. Cocaine can't compare to it, okay? When we see pornography, when we see a sexy woman, there's explosions that happen in our limbic system, or in our system, that affects us in a deep way. But they're tied to the wounds of our life. They're tied to the disappointments of our life. It ties to our perspective of who we are. And I want you to have God's perspective today. God's perspective is that you're valuable. God's perspective is that I'm loved. God's perspective is that there are no secrets. He knows everything. The light is shining. We're open books. And guess what? As we do it, I love the internet. That's one of the things I like about the internet. People can stop pretending. You got to actually get your story out there. And all this, you got to get a publisher. You got to do all of this. These days now, you can come up, you can tell your story. You can write your own obituary. You can write your own autobiography. So, so basically that's what I'm doing today. And if anything I say helps you, that's okay. And if nothing helps, take what's good and leave what's bad. What you don't agree with, that's fine. That's okay. You know what I mean? And so just let the blessings and the goodness of God surround you. And as pertains to your sexuality, I got nieces and nephews that are gay, some that are straight, some that are mixed up, transgender, all these other things. But guess what? The key is love. The key is a lot of what we're going through and how we deal in these areas of our life has a lot to do with our family of origin. Has a lot to do with, the type of home we came from. Whether we came from an evangelical home, whether we came from an atheistic home. But guess what? That don't matter. What matters today is that whatever the struggles are in your life, you realize that you live in community. You realize that there are people that you can talk to. You realize that you can develop friendships and you can get better. You can heal. You can grow. You can become everything God has called you to be. So, hey, again, think about your first sexual experience, because that has a big impact on your arousal template. That has a big impact on what's going on in your life, even right now, currently sexually. That has a big impact, and you owe it to those that you're involved with intimately, that they know your whole story. They know everything about you. Okay, they may not be able to handle it, but guess what? As we all begin to get help together in the right time with mentors and accountability in your life, you could begin to share. You could begin to talk about it. And I want to get a little bit of this out of my Bahamian guys, the island guys out there, because men don't talk about these things. Men don't get into these things, in the islands, and they don't want to talk about it. But guess what? God's got some amazing things going on for us. Okay? So just take care of everything that you got to do. And if you're married, you owe it to your kids. You owe it to your wife to be open and honest and a man of integrity. And so guess what? Begin to write out your story, and slowly you begin to verbalize it and talk about it. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to touch on some other things. I got to come off here now. My wife is calling me, and, she's probably done up there in the doctor, or they want to hear my opinion about something as if it matters. But guess what? I love my wife. I love my family. Hey, DJ, how you doing, man? I love you. Thanks for all the help that you've given me down through the years and the way you've encouraged Sue and I. And it's going to be called Where Are the Blue Skies? The story journey of a Christian sex addict. Hey, that sounds like a contradiction, right? But yeah, there are Christian sex addicts out there. And guess what? Christians do have sex too. You know what I mean? And we do have a life. But guess what? We need to stop being phony about it. We need to stop pretending. And we need to come out and let the world know that we got the answers. And let the world know that God loves us in spite of who we are. Because it's not who we are, it's whose we are. We belong to God. You belong to God. So let me pray for you today. God, just bless all my friends out there. Bless everybody watching out there. Help them in their lives and their relationships and everything. Marriage, relationships, oh God. Those that are connecting with them. Help men, oh God, with intimacy, anorexia. Men who don't have the ability to express themselves and open up and share with the ones that they love and care about it. And help us most of all to strive for purity. Purity of thought, purity of mind. And help us to go free from our addictions, and help us to realize that there is hope and that we're not alone. Hey, God bless you. Have a great, great day. I'm out. See ya.